All right, Ripple XRP holders. So everyone in the crypto space is preparing for life-changing wealth, but everyone also wants to know, why is XRP not breaking out past the high of 2021, let alone the all-time high following this decision of the lawsuit? So in this video, I'm going to share with you some critical details about the Ripple lawsuit. When will it end? Because it's still going on. How high could XRP go after? What would the decision most likely be from the SEC's end? Will this lead up until the next presidential election? Will this go even longer than that, up until 2025? And also some related cases that the SEC has dealt with in the past and how those ended up, and the most likely scenario for what's about to happen and the impact on XRP's price, and then some partnerships as well too that Ripple's making. And then I'm getting into the chart for Bitcoin on a macro market cycle, and I'm also going to compare that to gold on what's happening with gold. So you guys are going to love this video. Comment 777 if you're feeling blessed. Comment 777 if you're feeling bullish. And if you're going to become the first millionaire in your family tree, you know what to do. Confirm it in the comments below, and also by tapping that subscribe button. Let's run it. All right, bull runners, you filthy animals, welcome back to the channel. So let's get into it. On coinmarketcap.com, we're looking at a $1.1 trillion market cap. We see Bitcoin sitting at $29,000, XRP at 71 cents, Ethereum at $1,800. Again, nothing crazy happening in the crypto space. I know times like this, it's boring. You know, it's not the most fun in crypto. It's fun to check your Coinbase, your CoinGecko, or your portfolio, and all of a sudden you see, you know, massive green candle days where you see in like 20, 30, 40, 50% during the peak of the bull run. That's the most exciting time, but also this is the most exciting accumulation period for investors. And yes, you know, Ripple is making massive partnerships. I know you guys have seen on the World Economic Forum, many of you guys have seen Ripple on here. You see Ripple making partnerships with central banks. And what is holding XRP's price back is the banks wanting to get in, but legally they just literally can't right now until this lawsuit comes to a conclusion. I don't look at XRP, and XRP is not a currency. It's a cross-border liquidity bridge that banks are going to be using when this lawsuit comes to a conclusion. So when will the lawsuit end? What is still going on? Because didn't the lawsuit end? I mean, didn't they get the clarity that they need? And although they scored a monumental victory against the SEC, you know, Judge Torres ruled that XRP token was not a security. So shouldn't this XRP currency be going up in value as new people in the industry think? Well, it's not that simple. So the XRP community is still waiting a final judgment before it can move away from the lawsuit and before the banks have the ultimate clarity that they need to go full-fledged, backing up the truck, camping on the beaches of the moon for XRP. So specifically, as the court found, Ripple Labs did not violate federal securities laws by selling XRP token to retail investors on public cryptocurrency exchanges. So it's not a security. However, the SEC did score a partial win for itself as the judge ruled that the XRP sales to sophisticated investors did in fact constitute security sales. So it's a partial split of the baby here, but one potential outcome of the final judgment is that both parties reach an agreement and settle in case. In a different scenario in which the parties fail to reach a settlement agreement, the case could go to trial. So on the other hand, if either party appeals the case, this is a possibility as well. So what's the most likely scenario? Because there's one of two scenarios here. They settle, you know, Ripple pays some money. They're like, here you go, you crooks, here's your money, you know, take your money and run. And then XRP and Ripple is able to do business legally as usual, as they've always done. So in a different scenario though, you know, if the SEC appeals, then this would take much longer to resolve. And ultimately the SEC would most likely lose. So until presidential election, in particular, legal experts that are talking about the case, whether the SEC would appeal Judge Torres's decision and try to reverse the conclusion that XRP is not a security, or settle with Ripple and turn to a different front from which it could attack the crypto industry. So this is the most likely case scenario, in my opinion. I could be wrong here. Again, this is not financial advice, but they would settle with Ripple and then they would shift their gears to attack other companies like they've already done, Coinbase in their lawsuit, Binance, and Gary Gensler coming out and saying that, you know, every altcoin's a security, so going after other altcoins that would be on the chopping block. And this is what I've talked about, we've talked about on this channel over and over and over again, where, you know, Ripple is most likely going to come out of this on top, and then the SEC would attack everything else, and the only thing that would have clarity after this case is XRP. So it'd be stupid not to be bullish on XRP, because once this lawsuit came to a conclusion, which it is this year, And most likely by September, I feel by September, they're going to have something settled, and Ripple might pay some money, and then they'll be able to move forward. Banks are going to dive in. We could see massive price appreciation for XRP. Again, no guarantees there, but that's what I'm expecting this year for XRP, because XRP and Bitcoin are the only two. Everything else is going to be on the chopping block for the SEC, and it's going to be dragged out through the process of going back and forth with the court, with the SEC, and it's just going to take forever for a lot of these altcoins to get the clarity that they need. So if the SEC pursues an appeal under the direction of Smithers Gensler, it would suffer an even worse loss, including the terms of finance, and Ripple could drag the initial appeal out until the next presidential election and beyond, that would not be a good thing for the XRP price, because everyone wants the clarity and the settlement to happen sooner, after which Gensler would likely be gone or fired, or he'd step down, as the higher courts prefer not to rule on issues partially and typically wait until the final judgment. So Jeremy Hogan, he said, if the SEC wins the appeal, it pulls back some adverse trial level case. But if it loses at the appellate level, now every court in the Second District Court of Appeal must follow the decision. They could literally turn a molehill into a mountain. So should the regulations watchdog realize this is not worth its efforts, the SEC, it might decide to settle, in which case the XRP community could put the whole ordeal behind it much sooner, and we could finally depart from the dock and go camping on the beaches of the moon. Either way, a favorable outcome for Ripple would mean an increase to the price of XRP, as it happens following Judge Torres's decision. And so when we look right here on SEC.gov, well, Elon Musk settles SEC fraud charges. Tesla charged with and resolves securities laws. He had to pay a $40 million fine and penalties. SEC former attorney at Apple charged with insider trading, and he settled with the SEC for that. SEC charges Microsoft Corporation, and Microsoft Corporation had to pay $16 million to settle charges with the SEC in violation of Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Also right here, JP Morgan of Chase Bank admits to widespread record-keeping failure, accidentally deletes millions of emails, accidentally, right? And they had to pay $125 million penalty to resolve SEC charges. Now, $125 million might seem like a lot of money to us peons here, the middle class or the bottom feeders, okay? But to the wealthy, this is a slap on the wrist. This is nothing for the billions of dollars that they rake in from all the crimes that they're committing. So most likely what would happen here is a settlement agreement. Ripple just breaks them off some bread. And I talked about that I've showed you guys this on previous videos for those of you that have been around the channel for a while. This is most likely going to happen. And we're going to see SEC.gov, Ripple settle charges for them selling XRP to sophisticated investors as a security. They have to pay a little bit of money. And then all of a sudden the banks start diving into XRP. The switch is flipped and we're on the beaches of the moon, man. So the SEC case has almost no impact on Ripple's talks with central banks. Ripple is still making partnerships with the XRP ledger, this monumental transfer of 54.3 billion PULLU stablecoin, and the network effect could boost XRP's price. So PULLU is an oceanic island nation currently running a trial of a PULLU stablecoin linked to the US dollar. This is just another massive use case, another domino added to the pile that's tipping to the grand outcome here that everyone's waiting for. So the project started its pilot on XRP's blockchain, the XRP ledger. Based on the data from XRP Scan, PULLU initiated transfers more than 54 billion PSC to the trust set through the XRP ledger. So over the past 3 weeks, PULLU has been leveraging the XRP ledger and previously its central banking digital currency platform. It's important to note that these transactions are driving higher adoption of the XRP blockchain and the token, using it to pay transaction fees. And if we look right here, the most important thing that happened this year in Bitcoin specifically is Larry Fink. This is what Mike Novogratz said. Now, one of the other most important things, the most important thing is the lawsuit with Ripple versus the SEC. But touching on this too, guys, this is really important for liquidity that would affect the price of XRP. So what's holding back XRP's price is obviously this outcome and settlement charges and the banks getting all the clarity that they need to dive in. And banks would want the price of XRP to appreciate because there'd be more liquidity and there'd be more scarcity. There'd be less XRP tokens through the burn rate. And then also that would allow for cheaper fees, because with Swift payment, when you send money and you wire through Swift, you have to pay a dollar amount for that. But the banks also have to pay a dollar amount for that, and then they keep a portion of the profit. Well, with XRP's ledger, not only, this is why I believe, Let me know if you agree by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. This is why I believe the price of XRP would go insane and banks would want to hold it in reserve, is because when liquidity is higher, it costs less money to make a transfer. Also, the speed is in seconds, not in 3 to 5 business days. So what a bank's goal is to get market share, to bring customers to use their bank. When we boil it down to simple economics, they need more customers to keep running as a business, okay? They need more people using their products, and the bank's products where they make money is loans. They make money through, transfers. They make money through holding bonds, through lots of different stuff. But the main thing through these transfers that relates to XRP is the SWIFT system. They're going to make less money through the SWIFT system than they would by using XRP, and it takes longer. So if a customer looks at a bank and sees that you guys are using the XRP ledger and I can make a transfer in seconds, not days, to send money to one of my relatives over in another country to pay them for a fish tank that they wanted to, or whatever, to pay employees as well too, right? So I know fish tank, super random example. I'm thinking of liquidity here, but if they can make a payment faster and it's cheaper and the banks make more money, it is common sense. It's common sense at this point that the banks would use the XRP ledger and they would use XRP. They partner with Ripple, which is exactly what they are doing. And so that's one of the biggest use cases here. They just need clarity and a settlement. They need to see on the SEC.gov, Ripple settles with the SEC. They pay a fine right here. They're able to do business as usual, just like the largest companies. This is the rite of passage here. That's what I called it. It's called the rite of passage, and all these companies have to go through it. And whether they're doing things legally or illegally, the rite of passage is you have to pay to play, because as human beings, we're the only species that has to pay money to live on this planet. Every other species, every other living organism gets to live for free. Your dog, your cats, they're freeloaders. You have to pay for everything for them. Plants, they're freeloaders. You just got to water them to keep them alive. And so the liquidity that we have to pay to survive is currency. Look at the words of that. So the most important thing this year that's after this lawsuit is Larry Fink. He's the chief executive officer at BlackRock, the world's biggest asset manager. And he thrilled the crypto community in June when he applied to launch an exchange-traded fund to track the spot price of Bitcoin. And this move, if approved, would spark a new wave of investments in cryptocurrencies from institutional investors. And now he considers it an international asset. Now, he got orange-pilled, not red-pilled or blue-pilled, as we say. Orange pill is when you take a non-believer, you make them a believer in Bitcoin. That's what Novogratz said. And so he says that before he was a non-believer, now he's saying that, hey, this is going to be a global currency. People around the world all trust it. So if Larry Fink is saying that, that tells you guys what's going to happen here. Now, what's going to happen? Well, if we look at the Bitcoin price chart and we look in the past, well, and then the RSI down here when Bitcoin was in overbought and oversold territory, anything closer to 30 is oversold. On the monthly candles we're looking, when Bitcoin was at the peak, right here, we can see that it was in oversold territory, and it was upwards of 80 or 90 on the RSI. And now this was the first peak of Bitcoin, and this clearly shows that the dead cat bounce that was even higher than the first peak was in fact that, a dead cat bounce, because on the RSI, it came up to only 70, and the RSI looks more like the chart of the psychology of a market cycle than anything. So the rally that we're seeing right now is this disbelief rally out of the depression stage right down here when the RSI was all the way down closer to 30. Now, when we look at where we were in the past compared to the last bull run cycle on the RSI, well, when the RSI crossed the moving average that you can see right here in yellow, we went on this massive bull run. And then from this rally to the peak to the bottom, when it passed it again, it was 1,278 days. So where we are right now in terms of time since the last time that it crossed above this moving average right here during the 2019 bull run, we're at about 1,552 days. Now, the Bitcoin, on the Bitcoin price chart, it did cross above it about 1,402 days prior to this, but we still have yet to see a rally like we saw for 2019, where the RSI came upwards of 68. Same with all the way back here where the RSI came upwards of 66. But we are just starting, so we just crossed the RSI moving average right here, and we're 1,552 days into this rally. So we're still in drastic over sold conditions right here compared to the past. If you were to look at this horizontal yellow line right here in terms of where the price is right now, where the RSI is right now compared to the past, we are right at this critical junction before we see a massive breakout. Now, what would cause this massive breakout on the RSI to take place for Bitcoin to do something like this over the next few years leading up to the peak of 2025 at the end of 2025, similar to the last few cycles where we saw this, massive blow off top every single cycle? What would cause something like that? Well, it would be this right here. So the 28th of March, 2003, the first gold ETF launched was Gold Bullion Securities, which listed on the 28th of March, 2003. And if we look at the chart right here and we were to compare Bitcoin on the right-hand side to gold on the left-hand side right here on March, right near April 1st is when the price started to go crazy up until 2011. So about 8 years, gold went on a massive bull run. Now, gold's market cycle is obviously different than the US dollar because it's tied to, bonds, it's tied to lots of other stuff than Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is more of a shorter market cycle with higher volatility based on a 4-year market cycle, which coincides with Bitcoin's halving. And also it's coinciding with the Federal Reserve effective federal funds rate, and could be decoupling from the stock market over the next few years because crypto market is like 1/100th of the stock market. But this right here is the most important thing for XRP. It's the most important thing for Bitcoin. It's the most important thing for Ethereum, for Shiba Inu, for Cardano, for every other altcoin in this industry is Larry Fink. When this ETF, if it gets approved, I don't think it's a matter of if, it's a matter of when, we will see something like this that happened with gold, except it's going to be much more rapid. It's going to be much quicker for the cryptocurrency market. And we will see Bitcoin go absolutely insane. Now, there's going to be massive price swings and price volatility leading up to the high of 2025, very similar to how we saw these corrections of 20 to 40 to 50% during the last bull market rallies. But that's normal. Volatility is the price that you pay for massive gains and massive price appreciation. So when we look at gold right here rallying 476%, maybe a little bit more than that. That's not exact, right? Because I'm on the monthly. If I were to zoom in, I can give you guys the exact number, but it's relative here. And so when BlackRock's ETF gets approved, well, massive liquidity is going to flow into the crypto market because institutional investors would just be funneling money and make it easier to buy Bitcoin. Very simply put, then on the RSI right here, this breakout that we're seeing on the right-hand side above this moving average right here, it's been below it, it's been below it since April of 2021, since the first peak of Bitcoin right here. Before then, when Bitcoin started the bear market, it dropped below it back in January of 2018 when Bitcoin was right here. And then before then, it started dropping below it right here back in December of 2013 when Bitcoin was going into the bear market. So very similar. We're going through very similar chart patterns right here. So based on the past, April 2019, October of 2015, what happened after these periods? Massive price appreciation, massive price appreciation, massive what? Potentially, no guarantees here, not financial advice, but potential massive price appreciation in Bitcoin. And so if an ETF gets approved and when it gets approved, could the chart of Bitcoin look like the chart of gold that we saw after that? Because look at the psychology of a market cycle of gold. We saw euphoria right here. We saw complacency right here. We saw anxiety, denial, panic, capitulation all through here. And then we saw anger and depression. And then we saw this disbelief, oh, this is just a sucker's rally right here. And then followed by hope, belief, thrill, euphoria, optimism, and then euphoria right here. And then guess what for gold? What did we see as well again too? If we were to zoom in where we are right now, this is why I think we're going to have another big precious metal rally. If you guys watch my previous video on the channel for the psychology of a market cycle, also talking about the Dow to gold ratio as well too, and how this ties into crypto, the correlation, you guys definitely want to check that out next on the channel. And all you got to do is subscribe to the channel and go watch that video. I believe it's this one right here. Ripple XRP, big shockwave right here has 24,000 views. And then you can go check out the other ones. If you want to see some info on UFOs and all that stuff, go check that out. But watch all these videos right here, guys. We got a lot of good value that we're putting out on a daily basis for you. But look at the psychology of a market cycle here. So where we are right now for gold, we saw the all-time high happen back in September of 2011 before we formed a new high. But then we saw complacency take place right here, anxiety, denial, panic, capitulation, anger, and then depression all through this stage. And this right here, this is the disbelief rally for gold. So very similar to when the ETF got approved, you know, we saw this disbelief rally take place right here for gold. And we've seen this virtually every single cycle. If I, you know, go back on gold's chart, if I were to go back to the past, you guys could see that. But this disbelief, what comes after disbelief? Hope, thrill, right? You see the, even if gold comes back down, let's say if gold came back down to the 200 moving average, that's disbelief, right? Better accumulation period right here. Then hope, belief, thrill, euphoria, and optimism for gold. Upwards of, what do you think gold could go to? $3,000 to $5,000 per ounce. Well, if I were to draw from the high of 2011 to the low, a full extension for gold would put it close to $5,000, maybe like $4,800, $4,900, somewhere around there. And so if we were to look at Bitcoin for a full extension for Bitcoin, what would that put Bitcoin at on the price chart? That would put Bitcoin at $248,000. So could Bitcoin pull $100,000 to $250,000 this market cycle for 2025 for the peak? Absolutely, anything's possible. And then for XRP, well, XRP, you know, because it's not necessarily considered a currency, it's considered a liquidity bridge, and for banks to have that liquidity to use it, well, XRP could do anything, man. I mean, it could be in the thousands of dollars. I'm not going to be here and saying that it's going to go to $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 like a lot of these people are saying, but that's possible, man. I mean, that's possible. We could see massive amounts of derivatives, debt, money from the stock market, money from the real estate market, money from traditional forms of IRAs, ETFs, you know, pension funds, all that type of stuff start flowing in after this ETF. It's anyone's guess, but I think on a conservative scale, very conservatively, a full extension for XRP after this lawsuit is completely over, Ripple's able to do business, the banks start diving in, they get the clarity that they need, then I believe a full extension of $13, between $10 and $30 between there. Very conservative. That's a very conservative price prediction for XRP, which I could be wrong about. But let me know your guys' price prediction. If you got value out of this video, comment 777 below. And as always, we're backing up our truck all the way to the bank, grabbing the bags, packing them and stacking them, leaving no bags left behind because we believe the spending power of the dollar is going down in value. That's a fact based on inflation, cryptocurrencies, blockchain technology, and bull runners. Together, we're going camping on the beaches of the moon. I will see you on the next video. Go ahead and click that right now. And I also will see you on bullrunners.com. As always, you know what to do. Stay bullish.